All right. What's up, everybody? We got Rouge, aka Rogue, in the top right side of the map. Obviously, Rouge, a common misspelling of it that a lot of people like to say. The man who people got really excited for his changeling strategy. Said, is this going to break the game? Will this end late game? A lot of the top pros were pretty dismissive of it, and it doesn't seem like it's taken on another character. He still looks pretty good in late game with it. He definitely can make some good plays. What I'm interested in is he's playing Spirit, and Spirit likes to turtle his butt off to the late game. Now, Spirit can do all-ins, can do timing attacks, but his specialty is harassing, defending, and then playing the slowest, most patient late game of all time. If you guys thought European play could be a little bit static sometimes, well, there are certain days when Spirit rolls out of the bed and he chooses not violence, but just straight up, I will drag the game out and make it go as long as possible. I will make as many ghosts and battle cruisers and liberators and planetary fortresses as I can. And I'd love to see how that faces off up against Rogue, who is famous for spamming changelings and niduses and doing all sorts of cheeky BS in the late game. So this is a game from, if someone types bracket in the chat, I want to say Oli Mole League. Oh no, I could be wrong actually. No, so this is Wardy PTR tournament. We're in the Wardy PTR tournament number 2 is where I got these replays from. It's a best of 3 series in the group stage. And we'll see how it goes, as it is a very competitive tournament, and every match does matter to see how they get to the next stage. Ultra Love is a map that's obviously quite choky leading into like this area. So if you do get like tanks below someone's ramp, that's brutal. You've got decent kind of ledges everywhere, bits of terrain kind of blocking things. Lots of good tank spots on these maps. And as you do get past your 3rd and 4th, your 5th base gets a bit more exposed, and then 6th base out in the corner or the middle of the map gets very, very exposed. But pretty big macro map in general, I'd say. Relatively standard layout, nothing too crazy, and just a lot of beautiful aesthetics on the map, you know? From this weird little planet that seems to be crowning into here from another dimension and slowly effuses big bursts of blue energy, right down to the magic black holes that have hybrid destroyers in them, and random beams of light connecting different platforms. I'd love to hear the story of this map, but I don't really know what it is. Yeah, there you go. Whenever you've got actual vision, you can see those little energy beams connecting things. It's just a beautiful map, man. 3rd command center goes down here for Spirit. Not the fastest 3rd CC, which is interesting. He's taken his 2nd gas relatively early. Is my boy playing mech? He might be. I wouldn't be surprised if Spirit mixes some mech. And I don't know if this is the greatest map for it, because there is like some high ground, low ground. But then again, like battle mech, definitely a thing on this patch. But those cyclones not having a crazy amount of range can be an issue. Reaper's going to be coming up this left side. Queen's trying to deal with that. Hatchery's there. I'm so ready for new StarCraft 2 content and tournaments. I'm sick of replays, says Phil Mac Jr. So here's the hot tip. Stop being American, then. Unfortunately, all RTS games are very centered around a European audience, probably because the Europeans just support and tune in the most, I guess, to RTS. At least that seems to be the conception. Age of Empires does it. StarCraft does it. Almost all games do it, where you'll have the live tournaments played in the morning, the wee hours of the morning, or the middle of the night for America. Especially in StarCraft, where they want to be played live with Koreans playing at their nighttime, Europeans in the middle of their day or the afternoon, their evening, their prime time, being a bit more of a focus. So America just comes as a bit of a backup. And, you know, we do this stream every day, Saturday every week, my time. It's Friday afternoon, evening if you're American, where we wrap up all those best games from all those tournaments that if you have a job or kids or a life and haven't seen all of them live, we kind of grab the best series of those and we try to deliver them to you. But you can see live tournaments. We do the Pigstarcraft Weekly every Monday American time. That's Tuesday my time, which is going to be a live. That's always a live tournament. But a lot of these tournaments, you know, they're always played in the last week. They are played on the balanced map. But I really like doing my best game stream because there's so much StarCraft. It's impossible to keep up with all these events for me, let alone for my audience. And doing this at my time zone, which is much more American focused, I think it's nice because otherwise America does get ignored by a large portion of the live events, and there's just not many Europeans who want to play at this time ever. So you're just never going to have the top Europeans playing live StarCraft at this time, right? Unless it's occasionally Clem or MaxPax who don't sleep until 8 a.m. in the morning because they're young kids who have crazy sleep schedules. You know, Serral is never going to do that. A lot of the other players, they do not want to stay up to those hours, so unfortunately, unless you guys want to bribe them with guaranteeing them $5,000 per match to ruin their sleep schedule, they ain't staying up for a $400 weekly tournament. And unless the American StarCraft scene suddenly becomes the epicenter of StarCraft, I don't see that changing anytime soon, sadly. But we do try to do the Pigstarcraft Cup on an American-friendly time zone, so we get as many Americans signing up as possible. Hatchery's going to go down on that right side. So far, no real damage from Spirit. Rogue's built a good defensive advantage, right? Just about 10 worker advantage. 4th base coming down. He's got a Roach Warren coming up. But it is a bio play. It's not a mech play. It is a pretty big Hellion Banshee commitment to not do any direct damage, though. Oh, no. Oh, where are the Lings? Okay, comes in, gets himself just one drone, and then pulls away. Hellions shouldn't chase too far, though. Hellions could ruin that. The Reaper got left behind. That's kind of funky. Banshees come in. Roaches did just kill that Reaper. They just yeeted that Reaper into the black hole, guys. Sorry, I just caught the very tail end of that. Double Evo Chamber into Infestation Pit. Looks like we are just going to play Lurker, Mass Changeling. And remember, guys, like I said, Spirit's very happy to just chill to late game. This man will mass Ghosts and Planetaries and Turtles better than most players out there. Question, though. He's on 6 barracks. That's an odd count. Normally, you go 5 barracks and then you go 8 barracks. He's gone 6 before 4th Command Center. I don't know if that's a mistake or not. This is like a conscious addition where he's doing like a heavy pressure, but not quite in 8 racks. And then he's going to transition into the 4th Command Center right now. It's a lot of Marines and tanks building. Spirit's building sensor towers, though, which is a very defensive commitment. Interesting. Hellions grab 5 more workers. These Hellions still being annoying. Rogue actually getting caught out here. Spirit wants to trade these Hellions. He knows they won't be much use later on. Taking out 14 workers here. Nice. Not too bad there. I mean, it's kind of late in the game, so I don't really think Rogue cares too much because you can just replace those drones very quickly. He's going Spores, Hydrodent, Hive. His 1-1 upgrades are started, whereas 1-1 almost finished for Terran, but the Armory is a little bit slow here for Spirit as he starts to move out with some Medivacs and Marines. I really wonder what the answer is. No 4th Command Center for Spirit. Like, I feel like he might have to just commit to a big attack. But he's building a sensor tower, and I'm like, man, it's getting late. There's no 4th Command Center. I have to wonder what Spirit's goal is here, but Rogue, so low on units right now. Rogue being a little bit greedy. He's got a lot of tech on the way. It's not ready yet. Overseer goes down. Spirit actually gets a good little trade there. And units lost time, you can see 500 in favor of Spirit as his Cloaked Banshee comes forward to poke back these units. Looks for the Ravager snipe, seeing no Overseer there. Oh, Transfuse missed the weak Ravager. Does get himself a Ravager snipe. Looks like the Marines and the tanks are going to shove. He realizes that Rogue is just low on units. Spirit sensing weakness right now. He feels like with 1-1 against 0-0, now's the time to fight. Spirit just shoving. He says, hey, you've been too greedy. You're caught unprepared. Vipers aren't here. And Rogue just taps out. Wow, that was a kind of embarrassing game for Rogue. And this is classic Rogue. Sometimes we've talked about this in the GOAT discussion. A lot of people don't understand it because they, like me, are big fans of Rogue. And they go, no, Rogue's the best ever. And I've said, you know, one of the big marks on Rogue's name has always been his ability to lose to the most random stuff very consistently. Players that he's meant to be very favored versus will just beat him in the early rounds of tournaments, and it does happen, but it's not over yet. But, like, I've just got to look at this and go, okay, you lost a bunch of units, but why? Why do we just have nothing? Why is it 8 minutes and his 1-1's nowhere near done? So his upgrades were really late this game, guys. Only started a minute 20 ago, which is like 6:50. That's a very late time to start 1-1. He's trying to go gases on his 5th base. He's built 4 spores. And yeah, he went 7 queens and Zergling speed. And just, it feels like he just didn't have, like, Spirit just out macroed him and then just killed him. Damn. A bit of a flaccid game 1 for Rogue. He's going to have to do some fighting to get back in this. Well, that was a stunning game 1. I have to say, a big mistake for Rogue there. Probably letting the Hellions kill those 14 drones, do the bit of damage, taking the gases on the 4th, but then also the 5th base. And going 7+ queens, and going for Ling speed. It felt like he just thought, hey, this is Spirit. This is the guy. I think he thought what I thought at the start, which is Spirit just sits there in macros, right? That's what Spirit normally does. And I don't think Spirit was really building towards a timing attack, but he actually showed some really nice killer instinct there, something that Spirit normally is not known for. He was like, you just don't seem to have that much. My first Marines did some good damage on the Roaches as well. And Spirit sensed, like, I've got the upgrade advantage. You don't seem to have that much stuff. I think I can just kill you right now. I think he kind of sensed that Rogue was being very passive and was just looking to gear up to late game. And he said, you know what? I've got a window. Let's go for it. And did manage to just push him in. So really nice play for Spirit. And I have to give credit because Spirit, the main criticism I've always had of Spirit's playstyle is that his biggest weakness is killing his opponent. Like, I've always felt like other players like a Maru or a Clem, very good at just knowing when they can press the advantage and win. Whereas I often felt like Spirit would, more often than not, when he committed to those attacks, throw advantages away, right? Like he would do it kind of at the wrong time. Like his frontal push decisiveness was the weakest part of his game. Whereas I said like his multitasking harassment, top tier, macro top tier, end game top tier. But because he lacked the like scary push timings, outside of like pre-planned cheeses, he's always had like some good pre-planned cheeses. But like in the middle of a game, Spirit very rarely will just kind of grab his army and push. Like that exact move, that was clearly not planned. That was a reactive push. That was I sense an opening and I'm going to kill you. Something which like players like Trap in Protoss, an amazing player at sensing when his opponent is weak and he can just go kill them, right? Trap very rarely goes for an all-in terms of his build order, but he'll just be like pressuring and he'll sense, wait, you're weak, and he'll press the advantage and get himself a win. And it kind of felt like Spirit did that in that game, and that's a really cool evolution for him as a player to do that against someone as pedigreed as Rogue. Now, of course, Rogue, I think, was just a bit too passive, had this read on his opponent, if you're just not going to do anything serious to me until late game. And this is the strength and the weakness of Rogue. Studies his opponents, he understands their habits, but he also gets lazy. And that's something that's always been part of Rogue, is like he kind of makes a read on what he thinks they're going to do, and then he will try to ultra hard counter it sometimes. That's why he was rushing 5th base gases. That's why he was rushing Vipers, rushing Lurkers. His upgrades were a bit late, which is a little sloppy for sure. I think 1-1 would have saved him. And I do think Rogue is if he thinks you're going to do something, a lot of players will try to take a small advantage versus it. Rogue will try to, like, if Rogue thinks... So imagine... Rogue looks in your living room window and he's like, and knocks on the door and he's like, no one's home. Most people think they might be at the shops, right? They might be back anytime soon. Rogue is like, this is my house now. He's just like, no one's living here. I'm going to squat in here. I saw this video the other day of a guy like, how to see if a house is free to squat. And he's like, if there's some letters in the letterbox and you knock a few times and no one's there, it should be good. Just go get in there and start living there, and that's your house now. And I was like, this is the dumbest advice I've ever heard in my life. But anyway, like Rogue's the kind of guy who's happy to take that gamble. Rogue is happy to have you come back home from your weekend away and find Rogue in his boxes, brushing his teeth in your bathroom, saying, "Oh, what's up? This is my house now." He will try to get away with murder if he thinks he can. Some would say my analogies sometimes are really good, and other times they're really bad. This might fall on the latter. This one might not make a lot of sense. I agree. Zergling gonna run around there. Sees the 3rd command and a great scouting for Rogue. So Rogue's going queens into Zerglings again. This seems to be Rogue's favorite way to play at the moment. Queens into Zerglings. I think if you do this into Roaches, it's a much less efficient build. It's only really worth it if you hide what you're doing and then surprise with like a 1-1 Roach roll in. In that last game, the Ling speed did nothing for him. He still had to build a lot of Roaches and Roach speed. He still lost 14 drones to the Hellions. It didn't feel like going for Ling speed, 7 queens, and Roaches worked. Whereas if you think about it, if you optimize a Roach opening, you stop at 5 or 6 queens, you skip Ling speed, you go straight for Roaches, you probably take as much damage, but you save, 350 minerals on 2 queens, right? You save a bunch of minerals on extra Zerglings and Ling speed. And that makes a big difference. Now, Rogue does play a dark build order here, guys, where he gets 6 Overlords at once on 66 supply. Very smart move there, if you like being supply blocked all game. He's going to go 9 queens and more drones. I wouldn't say this is a super optimal build by any means for Rogue. Usually, I'd say he's a bit more attention to detail than dark, but hitting a few supply blocks, a little undersaturated in his main base, but he has reset his rally point in the main, and no doubt will be taking extra gases soon. He's back on gas in the main. 2nd gas goes down. And I think this is just a Ling Bane build. I wouldn't be surprised to see a Baneley Nest dropping in the near future. It's once again 8 Hellions and Cloaked Banshee, or 6 Hellions, I should say. So very standard openings for Spirit. He's kind of just said, this is the best way to play. I'm going to do super solid straight up play. He is down 10 workers though at 5 minutes 16. Spirit has to keep that triple worker production pumping and make sure he doesn't take any damage, because Rogue is going to take advantage of this 4th base if he can get away with it. I still think this 4th base sucks, guys. A tank down there denies the mineral mining. I just think this 4th base is terrible. I think this 4th base up here, or this one down here, is much better, easier to defend. But I haven't actually seen that thing I keep mentioning happen. Whether that's because the players aren't experienced on it or not quite sure. To me, this seems like a base that's obviously a worse base. You only get 1 gas on it as well. Even though it's a purple gas base, I think it's a pretty bad expansion to take. All right, Hellion Reaper coming forward. 3 more drones there. Carapace does start up for Rogue. Baneling Nest as well. Does need to squeeze that melee in, but the pressure's pretty good for Spirit. I like the way he's coming in. Gets himself a few more drones, but he will barely escape with that Banshee. 4th and 5th barracks coming down right now. Where's the 1-1 upgrades for Terran, guys? Those engineering bays are idling right now. Spirit has forgotten his upgrades, and that is massive. He needs these upgrades. It's already 620. He finally starts +1 attack. He needs to start +1 armor. He's going medevacs and tanks. There's going to be such a big delay on his 2-2, and it gives Rogue a big advantage on that Carapace, which is the most important upgrade. Yes, he's forgotten his melee as well, but it's a big delay on the melee. Infestation bit going down before +1 melee hurts. Oof. Okay. All right, this is going to be weird. +1 armor finally starts for Spirit. He's got the Marines and the tanks hanging out as well. Overseer. Whoa! Changeling does get focused. Good move. Good focus fire. Melee finally starts. Okay, Rogue's finally remembered it. If we look at Carapace, though, guys, Carapace is right now at 70 seconds, whereas if you look at +1 attack, it's only at 45. 25 to 30 second upgrade advantage there for Rogue. Armory goes down ahead of time, so at least Spirit's going to be able to start 2-2 the moment it finishes. But his 4th command center has just started. His 2nd factory's just started. He needs to do damage with this attack. 2 tanks and a pack of Marines coming forward. Spirit's going to push this top side. I think he's decided this is just such a beautiful ledge. Actually, yeah, this area is disgusting. If you take this 4th base, you need to like have so much creep out here. This tank on the south, I'm not as big a fan of that. One in the north, though, so hard to get rid of that. Marines coming forward. Feel like for Rogue, a counterattack or flanking around is the best way to deal with this. Attacking front on into this angle does not seem like the play, but if he can loop lings around the south, I think he can crush this. Hatchery's taking damage. He's on a timer. Rogue's going to have to go. His Baneling speed is ready. He's rolling forward. Not an elegant engagement for Rogue at all. Taking big tank fire. And Rogue here, he has to split his army up and flank this. He's taken a long time to set this up. He's got to set that flank up, but he's got to do it faster because that hatchery's going down. He's taken too long. Hatchery's going to fall. Great move for Spirit. Queens are there transfusing. The hatchery goes down. Hellbats and tanks guarding the low ground. The Marines pick up in the north. 1 medevac did go down, but what an excellent trade there. And at the same time, a drop goes in on the purple gas base. But Spore Crawler, remember, 20 damage a shot now. Only 8 shots to kill a medevac. Those Marines not finding any value. Spirit starting to go into chaos mode. He gets a Marine drop in the main base as well. Rogue has not dealt with it. Rogue, you got to realize there's so much dead space on this north side. You need your Overlord to be much further north than this. And those Marines getting into the main without him realizing, going to find a fair bit of damage as his hive finishes up. Getting yourself a queen or 2 could be effective. There's still 8 queens in this map. 5 drones go down. Drop's going to pull back and hide itself. Keep in mind that Spirit's only on 71 workers. His 4th command center has just now finished. He's going to float it down south. I thought he would expand towards the middle of the map so he could push this ledge and take the super easy denial of this terrible expansion. Come on, Spirit. I'm amazed that this base has been allowed to mine at all, guys. It's such a bad expansion. He's denied the top base. Now he's going to drop forwards a little bit. And as I said, those tanks, man, they're going to take advantage of that very poorly placed base. Here we go. Queenling Baits around might be enough. Spirit's Marines are a little clumped. His tank's trying to fight right now. The Baneling's getting the connects. Never mind, says Mr. Rogue. Hold my beer. It was a trap. I was always ready to flank you, dum-dum. Marines and Banshees will survive. A decent enough trade for Rogue. That being said, Spirit's got a 4th coming up with a planetary morphing. If Rogue can't get rid of this, if he could get some lings in and delay this, would be massive. But Rogue's been pushed into a sort of passive position. Spore Crawler takes down the medevac. 3 Marines come in. Queens will take care of those Marines as they take out 2 drones. But it's a good trade for Rogue. Banshee's going to take out a little bit of the creep in the north, but they do struggle to get through those creep tumors because of the regen. You see that last one survives as the scan runs out. Scans again, gets that active tumor, pulls back. Queens will be quick to replace it. Zerglin's going for this round. There's more Marines and tanks there, but Spirit, even though he's ahead on supply, he's got to avoid getting hit by those Banelings, which he does actually really well. If he just unloads and continues to push the middle, I don't think Rogue can keep this up. Rogue has traded 3,000 resources worse on the unit lost, and if he loses the mining on this base, he's only got that 4th base on the right side. You've got a 4th up and mining, a 5th on the way. I think with double tank production, Spirit is in a massive advantage. He's got 8 barracks as well. Tech labs on those last ones. He doesn't have concussive yet, but he is adding marauders, so concussive going to be really important in a high-intensity game against Rogue. Hard to remember that in the midst of things. Spirit's going to set up a nice tank push path on this side, clear this creep back, and allow him to open up an avenue. Rogue attacking front on a lot. It feels like Rogue in Zerg vs Terran in the last 6 months, if he's not at that lurker stage of the game, there's a lot of him attacking into wherever the Terran wants him to fight. And this is what I feel like is really lacking in Rogue's TVZ, is like, it never feels like he's ready to ambush, or very rarely, and he's very rarely like setting up a quick flank. Terran pushes and he fights into the tanks. Like, there's a bit too much of him getting baited by the Terran, and that's one thing I'd really like to see him develop. Sensor tower with a decent bit of vision there. Ling's just going to clear up that depot and pull back. There we go. Rogue now establishing himself. Hive's there. Adrenal's done. +3 carapace. Chitinous plating. Ultra's coming out. 2 Vipers. This is where he grabs control of the game. His supply sucks, but he's got the tech. Spirit's not pushing him with enough urgency. Spirit's on mostly Marine tank, but because Rogue's been so far forward on the map, Spirit's playing a little bit passive. Now, he's got a good tank line there. He's got a really good spread of units. I do like him trying to elevate and moving that tank forward. He's got to get rid of that Spore Crawler and slowly deny this base. More tanks, more Marines moving forward. Double drop in the north as well. Rogue needs to crush this next fight. And honestly, with only 8 Marauders out, no Liberators, no Ghosts, the Ultras are going to be hard to deal with. Nice transfusers, but not enough to save the hatchery. 8 Marines for a hatchery. Great trade there. A few Marines on the high ground as well. This hatchery going down. And Rogue, he's going to lose the other purple base as well if he doesn't watch out. Marines running in the front. They don't have a medevac with them. It's a YOLO. The Zerglings will take care of that one. Dropping the main base, getting parasitic bombs. Rogue starting to find some value. His economy takes a beating, but army versus army, you can see that he's now starting to stabilize. Those Vipers should be gathering more energy. Where are they? There they are, guys. They're going to be a while till they have more parasitic bombs. At the same time, Spirit damaging the purple gas base, but he's not killing it. Rogue trying to jump on the tanks as Spirit tries to retreat. Where's Spirit's army, guys? He's leaving his tanks in the open. Where is his bio? Oh no, Spirit with a blunder leaves all of his tanks in the open, and they're all going down. His bio army pulling all the way back for no reason there. I mean, it made sense if his tanks pulled back as well, but because he just left his tanks out in the open, he just lost like 6 tanks. That's a big problem. 10 tanks going down. A big part of his anti-Baneling, anti-Ultra. As long as he lifts the command center, though, he's got Ghost coming out, but he needs to establish control of this 5th base, defend this left side as well. Really important as the Ghosts come forward for some snipes. Not quite able to connect. The Ultras do pull back. +3 melee starts up. +2 vehicle weapons for Spirit. Do we see Broodlords for Rogue? Do we see Nidus Worms? What is the play here? Ultraling Bane is a very good comp. If he grabs half his army, smashes the natural, other half of the army comes down and smashes this side, I don't think Spirit can defend it. Spirit's trying to take 2 bases at once. I think that's basically living beyond his means, guys. We're talking about we have thousands of dollars of credit card debt, and we're ordering Uber Eats from the store that's 200 meters down the road. We're making some dangerous financial decisions here as Spirit. How are you going to defend this and your natural and that middle base at the same time? Rogue knows it. Rogue's going to dive. Rogue's going to dive. Well, the Ultra does go down, but the Lings are going to be brutal. Nice raise on the wall, but these Lings are brutal on the right side. Oh, Vipers come in. Big snipes, though. Big snipes do take out a few Ultras and a Viper, but that left side, bunker goes down. The wall-off's getting torn down. There's not enough units defending. Spirit needs to F2 his whole army back here to defend. He hasn't lost too many workers just yet. If he can stabilize, it'll be okay. The Lings taking down those Ghosts. Remember that Ghosts, when they stand and fight with Lings, don't do that well. Ultra Baneling. Oh, that's the move. That's the potential game winner. He's happy to sacrifice some SCVs if he can save the command center, but that's a big if. It's not going to work, and only one Ultralisk and a few Banelings for a hatchery or a command center. Great trade. Medevac goes down in the north at the same time. Burrowed Zerglings here. The Chaos from Rogue finding the mark and using all of that nice late game tech, good multi-prong to really just turn this game on its head. It felt like Spirit had a big advantage, but he never killed that middle base. He was a bit slow at reinforcing that angle, and look at these Burrowed Zerglings just toying with him right now. Every time he moves out, Rogue can just unburrow these Zerglings, run back into the main base, and go after those workers. He's got Lings down here as well, and there's just not enough scans to clear up everything at once. Reburrows in the main base, no scan to deal with it, so Spirit's forced to leave a few units, a few more Zerglings there as well. And this base actually survived because it got kind of ignored, but I do truly feel Spirit should just take the middle base and really have his army centered around this area. Because from that area, you can kind of branch to defend that base, branch to defend your natural. I think Spirit has to kind of contain things just a little bit more here. And he has given up momentum in this game. Rogue's fought back very hard from clearly behind in the early mid-game, which is obviously not promising when you think about getting just rolled over in Game 1, being significantly behind in supply in Game 2. But he shows that once he gets to the late game, he's back in his comfort zone, and he's going to be using the mobility of Zerg to just run circles around Spirit. Ultras and Zerglings will clear out this planetary. Ultra damage is insane against armored units, by the way. Ling's unburrowing there as well. Oh, sorry, snipes. One Ultra goes down. Remember, guys, goes to 3 supply. It takes 4 snipes to kill an Ultra. That's right, guys. 12 supply. Has to stand there and channel for quite a few seconds to take down an Ultra. Don't get me wrong. It is still a decent counter, but it's nowhere near as strong as it was a couple years ago. And that's something that players sometimes forget in the midst of memes about how ghosts counter everything. On this patch, these ghosts are really chewing up a lot of supply. I think they're still great for EMPing spellcasters, but definitely nowhere near the late game crutch that they perhaps were a few seasons ago. Spirit here, gonna go for a desperate counterattack. There's enough Banelings on creep. The Ultras roll forward. As long as he holds this army, Rogue will have the game. Snipes going down, but they're not quite killing the Ultras. Just put him in the red, and there's not enough Marauders to finish him off. Even with the stutter step, Blinding Cloud goes on top, making it even harder. You can see he'll take out a few Ultralisks, extra Will Spirit with some good micro, but he's got no economy behind it. Massive Remaxing coming in behind, and Rogue will tie up the series 1-1. Oh, right. Game 3 now. Spirit in the bottom right. It's El Dorado, the Lost City of Gold. Rogue's in the bottom left. It's a pretty standard opening. Looks like a 1-rax expand for Spirit, hatch gas pool for Rogue. And of course, on this map, you come forward. You've got the gold base, but it's blocked on the north. A lot of people like to open these minerals and take a 3rd here and a 4th here. 3rd and 4th next to each other. Just fight to control the bottom area. Don't know if that's viable against Terran. I've seen it against Protoss a few times. You could also just expand defensively. 3rd base here, 4th base here. Ignore the gold bases. Much harder for Terran to assault you. Likewise, as the Terran pushing 3rd base, 4th base forward, and then just walling off this ramp, pushing through the south side, through the watchtower, up around these choke points. I feel like this map could favor Terran with some of those angles. And I think for Rogue on this sort of map, you've always got to think about when the Terran pushes the south, get 70% of your army on the north, and when he gets to like the watchtower or further past there, you're trying to delay him, make it look like you want to fight in the south, and then just bust his wall with a giant army and just flood into his worker lines as quickly as possible. Is it a best of 5? No, this is a best of 3, guys. This is a group stage match, so this will decide it. 2-1-1? Oh, Spirit's going old school, ladies. I think normally I say ladies and gentlemen there, but I'm just going to let that one hang. Ladies. Ladies get excited by 2-1-1, apparently. I don't know. Just like, it's the ladies' night build. I don't know. 16 dudes in power armor taking drugs and flying around with medevac sounds like a fun time for sure. It is a pretty good push because you can kind of get through the middle so quickly. The question is what the follow-up is. Like, do you do a 2-base all-in as Spirit? Do you follow up with the cheeky old TY battlecruiser build? What gimmicks do you go for? Two more queens building. No 3rd hatchery yet. I got to question Rogue's build order, guys. It looks like crap. What is he doing? He's still mining gas. He's doing nothing with it. No lair. Is he going to take lair now? Where's the lair? Where's the inject? Where's the 3rd hatchery? I gotta put this on Rogue's camera. We need to try and get inside his... Okay, now the lair in the 2nd gas goes down, but like it's late. Is he playing 2-base Mutalisk? Seems really weird to play 4 queen into 2-base Mutalisk, man. I don't know, like Reaper on the NA ladder makes this work. Last time I saw a pro play 2-base Muta like this was a long time ago. If you're going to play 2-base Muta, you should definitely expand north, not south. Yet he's mined the minerals forward on the south, which makes me think Rogue doesn't want to do that. I'm trying to get inside Rogue's head right now, and I really can't fully understand what his goal is here, guys. This is interesting, but... I mean, if he takes the forward bases with a 2-base Muta build, that's objectively terrible. 2-base Muta is also very weak against 2-1-1. He saw the 2nd barracks building. Oh, no, he saw the factory. But he knew that the factory was at a weird timing, so he should know it's a 2-1-1. So Rogue should know to pump army after these next 4 drones. Just 2 bases of workers, pump army. Where's the Spire? Spire's still not started. It's 4.5 minutes. It's so late. This doesn't feel like it's practiced, guys. I hate to be overly critical. I know you guys sometimes think I just hate Korean players, but it just doesn't look that clean, this build order for Rogue. He has a good knowledge of what's going on, so he can still defend this with Lings and Queens, but he's not going to be able to establish a 3rd for such a long time. Behind this, Engineering Bay 3rd, gas tank production, it's a 2-base all-in. 2-base all-in against 2-1-1. If Rogue just defends well, slowly takes a 3rd on the north, I think it's fine, but he's so adamant about taking this front 3rd. I just can't understand why you would want to do that. It's so vulnerable. The Spire is all about counterattacking and putting as much room between you and your opponent as possible. Expanding towards your opponent goes against what I would imagine is the fundamental. I mean, it's not what I would imagine. It is the I'm trying to not sound too critical, so I'm kind of hedging my language. Screw it. Let's throw that out the window. It makes no sense. You want to expand away from your opponent. Creep spread is the main advantage you get behind those Mutalisks, and you want to have as much room as possible because you're going to be very late on Baneling speed, very late on upgrades. There's going to be a lot of periods where you don't want to fight. You want to counterattack and buy time. Rogue is right now doing a very odd build. He's had to build 34 Zerglings because he's only got 5 queens. Good choice to chase the drop. Make sure it can't unload straight away. Behind this, it's a 5 racks 2 base all in against a 2 base Mutalisk build. It's pretty similar economies. Terran's a little ahead because of mules. But as the Zerg, if you just don't defend this third, expand to the other side, I can't imagine a 2 base Mutalisk could kill you. A 2 base tank push, sorry. I feel like Mutas is great. Rogue right now has no scouting, though. He didn't overseer scout, and his Mutalisks are so late, he doesn't know that this is the follow-up. He has no idea what's happening. Rogue has no idea this is a 2 base, but I think he's just assuming there's a third command center. Rogue is not scouting right now, and that's a problem. I mean, it would be very normal for a Terran to have a third command center just finished up here somewhere at this point. But we know that it's 5 barracks. And seeing the SCVs, he might think, oh, you're just going to take a third. He has no idea. He's building drones right now. He needs to stop droning. Rogue, he's taking a gas. That's the last thing he needs right now. He's going to go double Evo. He should only be playing single Evo and nothing but Ling Bane from here. If he can crush the first army move out, he will win this game. He's back into Zerglings and Mutalisks now. Mutas are flying around. There is a turret in the main. The add-ons are exposed. The Mutalisks could find damage, but no, they're going to come back and try to deal with the army. He sees the move out now. He realizes there's a big push coming. He finds the Marines on the rally point. Nice move here for Rogue. But of course, those tanks are coming in a big way. Marines dying as they pop out. The Banelings aren't ready. Baneling speed, it's almost ready, but the Baneling count is very low. There's not much Ling Bane Queen. He should just give up this base. There's no reason to defend this base. It's a 2 base all in, but Rogue just didn't have that context, and now he's committed. Mentally, he's committed. He doesn't have to commit. He could give this base up and be in a good position, but he feels like he's committed. He loses a Mutalisk for a Marine there. Not a good trade. If Rogue gives this base up, I think he's fine, but a Zerg giving up their third base is the most unnatural thing in the world. No Zerg ever is willing to give up their third base, because in most scenarios, that means you're dead. But look at that. The Mutas get ravaged by the Marines. Ling Bane tries to roll forward. The tanks ignore them, and that is bad. He's down 1,000 resource and units lost. He's got only this little opening between the minerals. Rogue needs to give this hatchery up, but I don't think he's willing to make that decision, and because of that, he's both taking inefficient fights and he's going to lose his third hatchery, which is basically just a macro hatchery at this point. Doesn't really have any mining on it. Rogue under the gun, Spirit with a 2 base all in, and Rogue just not tight enough here in the defense to get rid of it. Transfuse on that Muta before did help it stay alive. He gets rid of the front tank. Spirit playing very cautiously right now. He knows that this army is what has to win the game for him, because he does not have that third command center. But of course, he could float down from his main in a few minutes. He's going to find Overlords. Oh, Rogue gives up the base, but he leaves Overlords there. Marines run forward, and Mutas go for the tank. Not going to be able to get it. That's a Mutalisk for a little bit of damage, and probably worth dropping a mule to repair. Every tank is sacred, right? Mutalisks on the rally point would be so much more effective. I'd love to see a Ling counterattack. Remember what I was talking about, how when your opponent commits to pushes on the south, you should be mentally prepared on maps like this to Ling Bane bust on the north, or even just Ling Muta, blow that depot down and go for it. And he could have done that much earlier if he was willing to give this base up. But you can see that Rogue is playing a little bit more of an older style. He's fighting into the Terran where the Terran wants to fight. And I pointed this out earlier on in this series. He keeps fighting wherever Spirit wants to fight. He's getting baited into tank pushes repeatedly in this series. It's an older style of Zerg versus Terran, where players let the Terran pick and choose where the fighting happens. The top Zergs these days do not let that happen. 2 tanks go down, though. Spirit with a big screw up. Losing 2 tanks is really bad for him. That other tank is not quite sieged. He's going to try and move it forward. He does move it a bit further forward, gets the siege up. Spirit might be going too deep. Rogue might be able to defend this. He's got a new third base building. Banelings, though. If those Banelings get hit by the tanks, it's going to be bad. The Banelings do get on top of the tanks. A few of the Marines go down. All the tanks are gone, but there's still Marines and medevacs left. It's time, potentially, for Spirit to pull back. He's so committed to this push, but he's got a 13 army supply advantage. And remember, no upgrades for Zerg, guys. Double Evo went down, but he had to cancel the upgrades to make more units. With no counter base and 1-1 about to finish for Terran and a 20 army supply lead, that's massive. Third base comes up for Rogue. He's going to transfer drones now. Mutas going for the counterattack, looking for the intercept on the rally, which has just been freely running through the middle of this map this whole time. We've always said against a Terran committed attack, you cannot let that happen. Lingbane rolls in the front. The Mutalisk, a bunch of Banelings actually hit the Marines. Mutalisk took out a tank, and they're killing so many Marines on the rally. Spirit with a bit of a doo-doo here. He's got to group up before he moves through. Marines on the front trying to bait Zerg into some bad fights. Marines pick up, and they do survive. That gas down there will go down, and the rest of the units coming forward. Spirit is super all in. Rogue has a third base mining. Your main half mined out. Over time, that's going to give an advantage to Zerg. Already, we can see that income advantage, a few hundred minerals a minute. Marines on the front. Baneling does go down. Creep Tumor getting taken out. Baneling Nest very exposed. Marines trying to fall back. He does pick up to dodge the Banelings. Marines there get a Mutalisk, but they kill the tank, and that's huge. How many Mutalisks have died? 8 for 7 siege tanks. That's really good trading for Rogue. But he's been down on income for most of this due to the mules. Marines and tanks coming forward. Another big reinforce. Mutalisk's gonna... Oh, he's not watching. Loses a Mutalisk pretty early. And he starts to take a good fight. He does lose a second Mutalisk though. Rogue's got to preserve these Mutas. Same time, Marines come forward. Baneling Nest about to fall. He's got to rebuild that Baneling Nest. Mutalisk getting chased back by these Stim Marines. Oh, he's got to be really careful with these Mutalisks. Rogue! These Mutalisks are everything. He can't afford to lose them, but he just lost 3 more Mutalisks in that last skirmish. And those Marines there do pick up. Tank gets a few more shots. This is a bad position to find yourself in. And this is why you'd love to be counterattacking with all your Zerglings and Mutas. Break the depot, run into the rally. But now look at that. The main is lifted down. Spirit has more than enough gas banked up, so he doesn't care about abandoning his gases in the main base. And he's just going to continue his income. He's going to be back in the income lead, or at least close to it. And Rogue here is his natural mines out. He's in a very tough position, trapped on 44 workers. Spirit pushing hard right now. Ling Bane rolling forward. Mutalisk go after the siege tank. They are going to take out one. Ling Bane there, having to pull back along with the Mutas. Bio tank coming forward. So many medevacs. 10 medevacs, 2 tanks, 49 Marines. 24 workers on the third, 12 on the natural. And a third command center finally goes down. Spirit realizes he's trading so well. 4,000 resources ahead. He doesn't need to win. He just needs to keep this trading going. And he can add a little bit of progression behind it. He could add an armory if he wanted as well. Right now, still 1-1 against 0-0. The Mutalisks have an attack upgrade, but is that really enough? Tanks are starting to fall, but the Banelings unable to connect, and the Marines with medevacs, they could counterattack. They can just dive. They can dive. There's no Banelings. There's no Banelings. Rogue's done for. He doesn't have the numbers. Without 1-1, he cannot fight against that many Marines and medevacs. The Mutalisks are gone. The Marines actually going to pick up there. I thought they'd just stand their ground, but I guess he was down to just like 10 or so Marines, and he pulls back. He's going to unload back at the choke point and continue to rally forward. Mutalisks, 27 have died this game now, and you see that's where things are gone. Only 1 Muta out, 2 more trying to build. Lingbane trying to come in. Carapace is about to finish. Finally, such an important upgrade. Only kicking in at almost 13 minutes. Has really hamstrung the efficiency of the Zerg. Nice up pick up there for Spirit. A few Marines do get left behind. 1 medevac deep in the red. He's got to unload those Marines. Mutalisk does get the medevac with 6 Marines still inside. Sacrifices itself for a good cause. Rogue is done for, though. And Spirit takes a win. This is a really cool win for Spirit, guys. Big upset, I would say. But it came down to a couple of things. Decisive build for Spirit. Rogue, I think his Spire was a little late. And I think the refusal to Overseer Scout meant he just didn't know what was coming until too late. Not to mention, I do think this third base is a huge mistake in my opinion. If you're playing 2-base Mutalisk, I really feel this third is always going to be the superior third base. But I'd love to hear other people's ideas on why maybe I'm wrong on that. Let me know in the comments. Catch you guys next time. GG, well played. Spirit gets the 2-1.